Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Horror Analysis with me, Drew. How's it going? I'm doing pretty well. It's been a while. I haven't done a video in like 2 weeks, so I need to get back into it. My hair's a mess; it needs to be cut. It's almost October. I would really like to get this done by Halloween. That's my goal. I don't know how many videos I even have left. I think 10-ish still. I keep saying it's 10 and then I keep adding one every time I do one. Today, it'd be cool to get it done by October the 31st, Halloween. Because it's horror analysis. Then I have to upload them all, so probably won't be seeing all of them till Halloween. Probably won't see this one till way after Halloween. So today, we're still continuing horror anthropology, or horror in or by different cultures. Last time, we did the green section of this map, the Eastern Asia, covering China, Japan, Korea, North and South, and Mongolia, as well as Taiwan and Hong Kong, which are not necessarily Chinese. Well, Hong Kong is, but that's where the film industry is for most of China. Taiwan is its own thing. I didn't really have much for Mongolia or Taiwan, or North Korea for that matter. This time we're going into the blue section of this map, which would be Southeast Asia. This is Wikipedia's map of the Eastern world. So, the blue section. This is going to be this. It's going to be this. Well, almost this. We have Burma, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia. And, Papua New Guinea's on here, but that's not really on there. And Burma's not really on here either, because Burma doesn't have anything. The Burmese, there's a Wikipedia article on the Burmese cinema industry, and it doesn't have any horror mentioned at all. None. There's not a lot in Laos either. The Laotian, actually it's not Laotian, the word is Lao, or Lao. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, I apologize. I only found one. The first Laotian language horror movie was directed in 2012. So that's fully written and directed in Laos. So not a lot in Laos either. And I didn't find anything for Vietnam either. There is a lot in Thailand. There's a lot in Cambodia. Malaysia has quite a bit. Singapore has quite a bit. Indonesia has quite a bit, and Philippines has quite a bit. So we have a lot to talk about today. Yeah. And we will. Most of these are... I'm going through cinema of the section. I am sort of working without a net, but I'm sort of not working without a net because there's this great documentary called True Asian Horror. Part 1 we talked about last time, which was the Korean and Japanese. And this one, part 2 was the Indonesian and Thai, and the Chinese one, but that was lumped into last times as well. And now that's going over the movies. For books, not a lot. I haven't noticed any that have been translated into English from this section. But there is a great Thai author, which would be S.P. Somtao. Moondance. I talked about during our werewolf section, the Stephen King's werewolf section. Vampire Junction, Valentine and Vanitas. I don't know where the other two are, but here's the third one. I don't know, did I give them away? I don't think I did. I talked about in the vampire section, I never know how to pronounce that, the title of it. Chuchi? Chuchai. I hope. Great Frankenstein style story, and not really horror, but definitely sci-fi and definitely good. River Run. It's a science fiction fantasy version of King Lear. Kind of cool. Definitely worth checking out. It's got some horror elements. You can't really, Somtow's an intense writer, so actually he's probably my favorite writer for classic stories, classic monsters, with the exception of Ghost. King's the best at Ghost, and Peter Straub's great, fantastic at Ghost. There are probably better people at Ghosts, but he's a way better werewolf writer than King or the others. Vampires, I like his vampire better than I like King's vampires. And Frankenstein, good stuff. There's the Creature Without a Name, which may be done better by others, but Frankenstein, it's good stuff. And he's Thai. He's actually royalty Thai. So, part of the royal family. He's actually doing Thai opera. I think he's bringing Wagner to Thailand. That's his newest project, or it has been his project for a while, and he's going to finish the project, I think. I'm just going to put that there. I'm getting some tea. Ew, that's gross. I finished tea with milk, and now I'm going to tea with fruit flavored. And the tea bags are mixing together in the cup over there, which is kind of gross because there's remnants of milk in the cup. I'm going to have to wash that out pretty thoroughly. But enough about that. Let's continue with Thailand, since I have Somtau here. Somtau. Doing opera now. Kind of cool. Apparently he did get in a little bit of trouble with the censors for one of his opera, but he made peace with them pretty quickly as well. So, and he does cool stuff. He's really into, I think he did host a horror show on, like a horror movie thing. So sort of like, a late night horror movie hosted by SP Somtau, which is kind of cool. Also, what do we have? We have Thai movies. There's quite a bit. I'm moving that to that Cambodian section because it switches. There's lots of Thai, lots of Cambodian, and then like a smattering of other things as well. The one that's done that they talk about in this for Thai would be Nang Nak or May Nak, depending on what version you're in. It's based on the same woman, female ghost. With the exception of Moon Dance, I've noticed this. I didn't notice this until today. But for Japanese, Korean, and most of the Asian countries I've done thus far, including the Asian countries I have yet to do, the orange section, the South Asian, the Indian subcontinent, if you prefer, which includes Burma here, but as I said, Burma didn't really have anything. Not Burma. Yeah, Burma. I don't know what I'm talking about. There was no werewolves, except for Moon Dance, which, as I said, Somtau writes in English. He was Oxford educated or Cambridge educated? I think Oxford educated. Not that it matters. He was a big shot English school educated. Being Thai royalty, he could definitely afford to. And he's certainly smart enough. No werewolves. I don't know, maybe wolves just aren't a big part of that culture. There's a smattering of vampires around. What were they called? Crossu. I think crossu was the term for the heads, the flying heads that drink your blood, with the entrails hanging out from the head. Crossu or Kraithu, depending on dialect or whatever. So there's the Maynok and the Nongnok, the same ghost, but same ghost in folklore, but different 4 or 5 different movies of versions of it. Whereas it's a vengeful, lots in this section and the last section, lots of female vengeful ghosts. It seems to be a big theme. Just female ghost bent on revenge. Female ghost bent on revenge. Female ghost bent on revenge. It's a theme. You're going to see a lot of them. There's the Snake King's Child, which is also Cambodian. It's based on a Cambodian myth, so I'm going to talk about that later. Crossu, which would be the vampire type things. There's 2 or 3 Thai versions of Crossu, like Demon Lover was one, and Crossu Valentine. There's a couple others. Shudder was actually remade. Was it Joshua Jackson? One of the Dawson Creek kids. No, it was Joshua Jackson because he was in Cursed, and he was in Shudder, the American remake of Shudder, which is basically a guy's taking a photographer, ends up accidentally killing a woman. She's bent on revenge theme, and he keeps seeing her in the photos. Yeah. There's that. And that's Thai. I think there's a lot of Thai movies. I can't actually go through them all, but it actually started. It has a pretty long history of Thai movies. Then we're going to go to Cambodian, the Khmer cinema. I hope I'm pronouncing that one right too. Again, I'm not trained for this sort of stuff. But the Khmer movies, Snake King's Child was a Thai Cambodian production, but it's based on a Cambodian myth. Again, lots of women ghosts bent on revenge. There's Ghost Banana Tree. Actually, both Thai and Cambodian Khmer cinema had some horror comedies, which is kind of cool. It's a genre I like, so. I was thinking about doing a video on special topics like horror comedy, and in the last couple of weeks I've been doing a lot of mind control alien robots, or mind control alien parasites, that's the word I was after, which have been interesting. It's an interesting subgenre of a subgenre. Mind control alien parasites. But horror comedies, there's cool to see horror comedies. And And of course Japanese have had a couple of horror comedies like Tokyo Zombie, which is great. I recommend that one as well. So Thai has horror comedies. Khmer has horror comedies. Let's see what else. The Ghost Banana Tree was one I think that was mentioned in here. Oh no, I don't think this was on here. Never mind. I saw something about Ghost Banana Tree. Cambodian cinema started doing horror comedies early on, and then the Khmer Rouge regime took over and cut that out, so there was no horrors for a while. Did I say horror comedy there? I meant horror. They started doing horror early on, then the Khmer Rouge regime took over, and there wasn't any horror as part of their censorship. And now that Khmer Rouge is over, they're opened it up again to horror once again. Actually, quite a bit. There's basically, if you go onto Wikipedia and you type in horror cinema of X country, you can get a lot. As I've said before, sometimes it's just movies that are filmed there. If you take Luxembourg, for example, there's not a lot of Luxembourgian horror, but a lot of movies are filmed in Luxembourg just because it's cheap, if you catch my drift. So, quote, Luxembourgian horror cinema will have movies that are just American or German or Scandinavian. Follow? Cool. But for the Southeast Asia, it's usually for the audience because it's usually done in that language. Okay, so there's a couple of Singaporean and Malaysian movies. Malay, I suppose, would be the proper proper adjective. And we go on to, let's see, I'll go on to Indonesian because Indonesian was here on this. So the True Asian horror, pardon me, True Asian Horror Part 2. Actually, it starts with the Indonesian. I have the YouTube thing for there. I think I went to check it today because I was trying to actually find the title of the one that they talk about in Indonesia. Jelangkung was the title of it, but I couldn't find Part 2. So hopefully Part 2 is still there, and I just couldn't find it. Hopefully you'll have better luck. So Jelangkung, which was this, I found a poster for it, is about using a doll to contact the spirit, sort of Ouija board style. And the ghost hunters, these guys, use it, but then they abuse it, and then they're tracked down by ghosts and killed by ghosts. Indonesian, well, a lot of these use local flavor, like Mae Nok in Thailand, or Nong Nok. I'm not sure which one's the proper one. I think Mae Nok is the proper one, but don't quote me. Is a Thai ghost. Cambodian Snake King's Child is a Khmer ghost. There's, out of the couple Indonesian films, they're Indonesian ghosts. One of them was a white blonde German woman, or a blonde, like a missionary or something, who was raped and killed by the Japanese in World War II. Am I misremembering that? As I said, that was part of the one that was supposed to be in section 2, and I couldn't find it today. So I'm really getting this from memory because I watched this about a month ago or 2 months ago. But anyway, one of those ghosts was that hunts the ghostbusters down, is this crawling blonde ghost. And that's talked about quite a bit in this documentary, True Asian Horror Part 2. The other one I wanted to mention for Indonesian was really interesting. Hold on. It's the only one I really found that used an Islamic underlying worldview. Was it this slide? No, not that one, but this one. One of the dominant religions in Indonesia is Islam. Most of the movies based on that are based on, non-Islamic worldview, but cultural worldview, based on the country's history, culture's histories, or based on folklore. But there is one called, I'm gonna mispronounce this, Pengabdi Setan. Can I say this? I bet you I can. Don't mind me. There we go. Pengabdi Setan, which was released in 1980 in Indonesia. Let's see, what was it? Directed by Siswaro Gautama Putra. Satan's Slave is what it translates to, which is also its name on the US DVD release. Okay, this is what Wikipedia has, and this is why I was interested in it. It is notable for being one of the few films to substitute Christian or Buddhist-based horror themes for Muslim beliefs. The film bears a resemblance in plot to Don Coscarelli's 1979 Phantasm. It has achieved cult status among fans in Asian horror films, principally because it's been unavailable for many years except in absurd Japanese VHS pressing with no English subtitles. Now, of course, as I was trying to load up on this, when I saw this, the Muslim beliefs, one of the few with Muslim beliefs, that's really interesting. There's not a lot there for Muslim beliefs. Of course, Bollywood, when we get into Bollywood movies, there'll be more of a Hindu belief system. And of course, most of the East Asian and Southeast Asian would have a lot of Buddhist beliefs, underlying Buddhist beliefs. Japan, for certain, certainly in Korea as well. Some of the other ones, the Philippines, Indonesian, Thai even, the Nong Nok version is about the Buddhist coming to Thailand and taking over some of the outlying areas. But mostly it's a Buddhist area. It's Buddhist belief system or pre-Buddhist belief systems. This case, or pre-Islamic belief systems in Indonesia. This one actually is Islamic, so that's kind of cool. So Pengab di Setan is definitely one that I wanted to point out. Which is essentially phantasm in Philippines with Muslim belief-based belief system. But even so, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna get rid of that. Cool. I wanted to say did I say the first Lao horror film was Chanthali, Chanthaly, and that was 2012. The only Lao or Laotian. I want to say it's Laotian, but it says Lao on Wikipedia, so I'm just taking their word for it. I'm probably mispronouncing it. My apologies. I'm not an expert. I'm hoping someone will be an expert. I've gone over that before. I'm not going to go over it again. If someone wants to be a horror anthropologist, please do. Please feel free to point out all my mistakes. I just want someone to do it right. I think it's a really cool area. And finally, I'm going to go over the Philippines. They had quite a few movies as well. There was a big series in the Philippines called Shake, Rattle, and Roll series of horror movies. They're all portmanteau films, meaning a three-parter movies. Found something weird in my pocket. Oh, gross. They're all portmanteau films. 3 parts in each. Probably one for shake, one for rattle, and one for roll. And it's a huge series of films. It's the biggest series in Filipino largest series in Filipino cinema, I think. 14 from 1984 to 2012. Yeah, quite a monstrous series, and all 3-parters, as far as I could tell. Yeah. So since I have this map up, next time, of course, I'm going to be going over the orange. I've gone over green and I've gone over blue this time. Pakistan, India. What else is in that section? There's a couple more. And then we'll be going over to Middle East and Eastern Europe. There's going to be a lot of blanks on this map, folks. Australia and New Zealand are basically under the European influence. I don't have any concept of what Aboriginal horror tropes there might be. I wish I could find some. That would be cool as hell. South American I'll go over. And African, if I could find something, it would be fantastic. I don't think I will. I might have to combine African and South and Middle East together just to have something to talk about. I don't have anything on African. There were some South African. I know I like mousing over the map like you guys could actually see it. You can't. I don't have that kind of film editing. There were some South African films, but they're basically for American audiences, meaning they were filmed in South Africa for American or British audiences. And I'll go over Europe a bit more. Because I did find some more information on Europe. I got a couple more videos in Anthropology. I've pretty much finished with religion. I mean, we will talk about it. The Bollywood stuff in India will be, of course, Hindu influenced. And there will be some Pakistani movies that are, well, I've seen, not seen, but I've found some, which are, I guess, would be Muslim influence as well. And of course, the culture's histories. Again, this is my least area of expertise. I gotta stop apologizing for this. Hopefully I'm going to intrigue someone to fix my mistakes. Other than that, it's the best I can ask for. Other than that, you guys can just deal with it. Anyway, folks. So next time I'm going to continue with horror anthropology. Horror in or by different cultures. I'm going to be going over South Asia, the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, etc. Burma, but not really Burma, because there wasn't anything in Burma. So folks, my name is Drew. Thanks for watching Horror Analysis. I'll see you next time.